Hello campers, and welcome aboard the Starship Nightwish. My name is Commander Exorcist, and today we are delving into part 2 of my series on exploration in Elite Dangerous. Getting away from some of the basic and more generic focused items and kind of honing in on some more specific things that can help to make your exploration activities more enriching, more engaging, and much more enjoyable and profitable as well when it comes to playing this particular mechanic in the game. And so we have a couple of things, and really the focus of this video today is going to be on basic system exploration. Now, yes, there are many different ways that you can approach exploration, but I'm going to, in this series, I want to focus on it from kind of a building block perspective. You know, we have kind of our basic foundations in part 1, and now I want to start on some of the no-kidding physical things that you will do as an explorer, things you need to do, things you need to pay attention to as an explorer. And obviously, all exploration starts with basic system exploration. And so when it comes to basic system exploration, we're going to talk about these particular topics. We're going to talk about the initial system arrival. If you play Elite Dangerous for more than 5 minutes and you've engaged your frameshift drive, you've traveled to a new star system. Over time, jumping from one system to another can just become like a mundane chore, and we really don't pay attention to some of the things that our ships are doing and some of the things that we see when we initially get into a system. And explorers need to learn and develop this sense of intuition. When you enter into a star system, you learn eventually that just from the sound and the sights of what's initially there, you can, over time, start to gain kind of this sixth sense of whether you've found a system that's worth looking at or not. We're going to talk about the importance of the Discovery Scanner, scanning every system that you enter. If you are an explorer, the Discovery Scanner honk should be part of your toolkit, as it should be as basic and as important as fuel scooping. So refueling your tank should come right along with honking a system. We're going to talk about some very specific features of the full spectrum scanner, the FSS. We're going to talk about some basic map views. I'm not going to go too deep into the map, but we are going to talk about some of the two main views of the map and some of the specific things that you need to look for when you're scanning planetary bodies, at least getting started as an explorer. And then we're going to talk more philosophy, when to move on. Sometimes you just have to give it up and move on to the next system. But we're going to start with that initial system arrival. You've engaged your frameshift drive. You've transitioned into witch space. You're traveling through hyperspace. You burst down into a newly discovered world, a newly discovered system, and you're face to face with a K-class star. Where are you, and what's going on? We're going to talk a little bit about getting your bearings, because it's very important that you obviously know where you're at. The scene that you just saw is the Nightwish arriving in this particular system, and this is a typical representation of what you will see when you've arrived in a new star system. And so this is the initial arrival. So you've just arrived in the system, and a couple of things, and I forgot, I didn't put a highlight on it, but if you look down at the radar at the very bottom of the screen, you're going to see individual bodies already showing up on the radar screen. Now, if you enter into a system and there are multiple bodies showing up on that radar, that means they have already been previously discovered. So when you enter into a system and that radar is already populated, you may not have scanned those bodies yourself, but they are previously discovered and previously reported to Universal Cartographics somewhere. So it's a good way for you to know immediately if the system you're arriving in has been discovered. One thing I wanted to really focus on with this particular item, this particular shot, is in this sequence, I'm traveling to a star system that's about 90 some jumps away, I think. And you're going to see a system indicator, a system name at the top of the screen, at the top of your travel indicator. That's not your current location. That is the destination that you have set. So if you're traveling along a waypoint, when you enter into a system, be careful not to take that as your location, because as you can see, that particular system is 42.4 light years away. Now, we get into probably one of the most important and basic activities for an explorer, the Discovery Scanner. You should be honking every system you enter. It should be second nature. Fuel scooping, system honk. Whether you know it's discovered or not, whether you know it's been visited, get the credits for it. Honk the system, get an idea of what's out there. Several of my best and favorite discoveries were in systems that had already been scanned, but nobody took the time to actually go visit some of these worlds. They just scanned them and moved on. So you never really know what you can see that someone else might have missed, even if they hit it with the full spectrum scanner. But yeah, the Discovery Scanner, forget to honk and you get the bonk. That is really kind of the guiding philosophy of the Discovery Scanner. Make sure that you do it. Now, when you use the Discovery Scanner, you can set it up in your firing groups. It's set up just like a mining laser or other sensor. And for me, I set it up on the left trigger, and then I have my surface scanner set up on the right. So my protocol essentially is when I arrive into a system, I immediately hit the Discovery Scanner and begin fuel scooping. So I'm scooping, I'm refueling my fuel tank, and I'm scanning to see what's actually in the system. You want to do this at the exact same time. Now, when the scanning is complete, you're going to see your scanner icon, the progress bar at the very bottom, whichever side you decide to put it on, will be complete, and you'll hear that incredible honking sound that we all have come accustomed to and really love. So it's a fantastic piece of audio engineering, to be honest. You'll see that, and then you'll also get an indication of how many bodies are in that system. And so in this particular case, this system has 22 bodies in it. And if you look at the radar below, there's only 3 items or 3 objects that are listed on the radar system. And so that means it's a pretty good indicator that this is an undiscovered, unexplored, unvisited, unscanned system, and it is ripe for the picking. So with that, when you hit the scanner, you'll see that it's complete. It's going to tell you there are 22 bodies, 22 objects, that is 22 planets for you to look at, moons, and whatever. And so once you have scanned, you want to get into the full spectrum scanner. So after you have gone through and you fuel scooped, refueled your fuel tank, you need to move a pretty good distance away from the central star. And the reason being is if you're too close to the central star, when you pull up the spectrum scanner, it's going to obscure your visibility. So it may make it difficult for you to scan certain planets, especially if they're behind that star. So you want to be further away from it so it doesn't take up so much of the sky. But the full spectrum scanner is absolutely the greatest OCD minigame you will find in outer space. And the way that this system works, and most people have seen it at this point, a lot of us, non-explorers, they tend to use this to find Thargoids locations, non-human sensor system signals, and you have mission objectives that you can scan with this. But for explorers, this is where a lot of the magic happens. A lot of the exploration part and the analysis part of Elite Dangerous happens here in the full spectrum scanner. Now, what we're looking at here is a double planet system. So when I say double planet, what I'm meaning is 2 bodies that are extremely close together. If you look at the central icon at the central target, you'll see it has a small white circle, and then it has kind of a gray circle outside of it. And so when you see those circles very close together, that indicates that there are 2 bodies that are too close for the system to differentiate. So when you zoom in one of these spots, it's going to split off and you're going to see maybe 2 moons close to each other, or this is an indicator that a planet has multiple moons and you're just far away from it. So with the full spectrum scanner, when you scan, you have to honk the system in order for this to work. But once you've honked the system, once you've done your Discovery Scanner pulse, you'll see your signals detected. And signals detected is different than bodies detected. Signals detected includes asteroid belts as well. So you may have 22 bodies, but you may have 35 signals. So pay attention to the difference between the signals detected and the bodies. The signals also include things like the notable stellar phenomenon and other potentially non-human signal sources that might be out there. So bodies is very important. As you can see, I've already scanned 14. 71% of this system is scanned out of 22. And this is your counter, really. This is telling you where you stand. Now, your full spectrum scanner, I highly advise that you go out and look online. There's some great resources about breaking down where the different bodies lie on this particular spectrum. But typically, your gas giants, ringed gas giants, and the like are on the far right. And anything as it goes further left is more of your icy, rocky asteroid belt, and then some of your signal sources, your notable stellar phenomenon, that kind of stuff. So this is where you'll be tuning to get your target set for your next scanning objective. Now, a kind of a cool feature here is I can see just from hovering the cursor over this particular target, ABCDE1, which is really awesome, that it's at a distance of 3386 light seconds, and it has a 135 Kelvin temperature. So it gives me an immediate sense that these objects are not too far away. Sometimes you'll get into systems and they're 300,000 or 400,000 light seconds away, and it's disheartening, but it's also nice to see on the full spectrum scanner when you're immediately scanning these locations to know how far they are away from you, so you don't have to go chasing them, and you know that maybe you're just have reached a point where you're just scanning for the credits. And down there, this is the location that you're at, this is the system we're in, and this is our percentage of bodies that we have scanned. Now, when you go in and you actually scan a particular body, you'll get a screen that looks like this. Probably seen it a couple of times, scanning bodies for minerals and other mission-related activities. Now, for an explorer, there's a couple of things that we really want to highlight as far as beginning exploration. There's some more advanced stuff I'll talk about in subsequent videos, but most people know about the resources. The resources tab shows you the resource composition. So if you're looking to resupply your material stockpiles, that's a good reference to look at. Key features for explorers is the features box. Most atmospheric worlds in Elite Dangerous Odyssey are biologic. So if you see biologic, most of the time it's going to be an atmospheric world. So that's a really good way to see immediately whether you're dealing with an atmospheric world or you're dealing with a non-atmospheric world with geologic activity. So it'll say geology 3 and then a biology count or whatever. So this is a good kind of quick way for you to look and say, okay, well, it's biology, so it's some kind of atmosphere. It may take a minute for the system to populate and you to be able to see what kind of atmosphere that is, but in this case, it's biological. Now, this is the highly detailed, this is one of my favorite characteristics of Elite Dangerous is the very detailed setup of the individual star systems. So this is pretty much everything we could ever want to know as far as an initial scan about this world. Its gravity, its surface temperature, surface pressure. Now, the new atmospheres that were introduced in Elite Dangerous Odyssey is brought about what's called tenuous atmospheres. So they're going to be low pressure. So you're going to see things like 0.01, 0.00 atmospheres, and then you'll see the atmosphere type. In this particular case, it is ammonia, and it's 100% ammonia. You'll see planets that have a mix and mash of different types of planetary atmospheric compositions, and I'm going to talk a little bit more of those in depth in the future video, but suffice to say that the Stellar Forge system is so complicated and so in-depth as far as rendering these atmospheres that the type of star that these planets are orbiting and the chemical composition of the surface and the chemical composition of the atmosphere all combine to affect the color and appearance of the individual world's atmospheres. So an ammonia world may be red and around one star, and it may be blue around another star, depending on the complete composition of the star and the planet itself. So really, really exciting piece of technology that we have here. So for an explorer, these are the things you really want to pay attention to: the features, the basic planetary information. This is a good way to know, do I really want to visit this planet? It's 1,500 kilometers radius. It has low gravity. It is a 100% ammonia atmosphere, but it has 4 biological features, so it might be worth checking out. Now, basic map views. So once we've gotten done with our FSS and we've scanned everything and we're ready to start taking a closer look at the composition of the system that we're in, we're going to talk about map views. Now, the map essentially has 2 modes. You have the standard map mode, which is what you're looking at right now on the screen. This is the traditional map view that we're all used to, where you can zoom in and look at the planetary surfaces, kind of get an idea of, if you want to visit, if it's got unique surface features that may be showing up on the map. And you've also got the Ori view. This is a newer view that was introduced a few years ago, and it gives us more of a viewpoint from kind of a 3D perspective. This is great for determining if a planet is worth visiting because of its relative position to other objects in the system. It's wonderful to have a tool that lets me know, for the most part, how close a moon is to its host planet, especially if it's skirting the surface of its rings, or if you've got 2 moons that are extremely close together, or just some unusual stellar phenomenon. The Ori view is a great tool for looking at it. Now, on the basic map view, when you zoom in, you'll get this particular view of a planet, and this is what it looks like when you've zoomed in to look at the surface of a world. Now, this is, I believe, this is one of the same system that I was in before, using the FSS. So this is one of the systems I scanned with that prior FSS, and this is actually, I believe, this is the world that I was looking at with the when I had the FSS explanation screen up, and so it's about 0.18 Gs, and no volcanism. It's an ammonia atmosphere world, and from this particular view on the map, we can see that it has some surface features. It's got a couple of craters. It's got some frost areas up on the pole regions, which is pretty common in some of the newer worlds. So, it's a little interesting planet. It's a little bit bigger. So, when the planetary generation system in Elite, and this has always been this way. This is not just an Elite Dangerous Odyssey thing. This has always been the case. The larger the planet, the less likely to have exaggerated features you are. So, when you have a smaller world, the features on that world are going to be much more exaggerated. You're going to have a larger mountains, you're going to have larger canyon systems, and your crater systems. Everything is going to be much more just exaggerated than what you would see on kind of a medium-sized planet. And this is what this is. This is a medium-sized world, so it's got some pretty interesting features here and there. Overall, it may be not so interesting, but it is an ammonia class, ammonia atmosphere world. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to focus on this particular planet in general with the Odyssey update came the atmospheres. So we have plenty of planets that have atmospheres on them now. So we have beautiful colored skies that we can go explore and photograph and analyze. And one of the cool things about the map, and it took me a while to realize this, but on the basic map view, you can get a preview of what color the atmosphere is on the planet before you visit it. Now, it may be ammonia. Like I said, it may be red ammonia, but on another type of star with the right composition, the ammonia atmosphere can be blue, or I've seen green. So it just depends on composition matrix and the stellar forge. Well, one thing you can do is go into the system map, zoom into the planet itself, and rotate the planet to where it's facing away from the sun, just as I've done with this one, and you can see the atmosphere change. You get an idea. This one has a dark red sunset, and I can see that on the map. And that may be something I'd like to go see. I would like to go see a dark red sunset. If I want to do that, this is a great way for me to sit at the host star 3,000 light seconds away, look at my map, and make an immediate determination, is this worth my time? Is this something I want to invest my exploration time in? So definitely take advantage of that feature. Now, getting into the ore review. This is the ore review. It is a 3D version of the map, and it is really great for looking and seeing how planets align with their neighbors. Now, take the Ori map with a grain of salt, please. What you're seeing right now, it looks great. C1 looks like it's extremely close to the C star. It probably is in celestial terms, but when it comes to the actual presentation, it's going to be close. But it is not going to look anything like this. It's not going to be that close. The Ori map does tend to exaggerate the sizes a little bit, which is still good because it really can give you a sense of, is this something I'd like to visit? Probably. I think that with the right angling, there could be some great photography taken at this location. So just really take the Ori map with a grain of salt. It's not entirely accurate when it comes to the scale representation, but it is 100% accurate to the positioning. So if you're looking for, say, orbital collisions or close passes, stuff like that, that stuff is absolutely accurate. But the sizing, just take it with a grain of salt, please. And then finally, for today's video, we're going to get to a very important topic, and that's when to just pack it up and go home. When to move on. That's to say that not every system that you hyperspace into is going to be exciting. Not every system you visit is going to be worth your time. There are hundreds and hundreds of star systems with planets in them, with ringed worlds and rocky ice worlds and geology and biology and atmospheric worlds that looked okay from the map, but I didn't visit a single one, and I just moved on because sometimes they're just not worth your time. And it is great as an explorer to recognize that, there is plenty to see out there, but sometimes there just really isn't. There's nothing out there. Sometimes you're going to get into regions of space, and each of us in the exploration community, we have our own opinions and our own thoughts about this. But there do seem to be places in the galaxy that are more dead than others. And then there's some places of the galaxy that for some reason, the procedural generation system just put all the cool stuff right there. And then there's places where it's just dead. And no idea why. There's just nothing interesting out there. It's ice ball after ice ball after ice ball. It's the same thing over and over again until you go about 1,000 light years or so, and then you'll find something that's just really amazing, and it picks back up. So when to move on, scan the system, honk the system, look through the FSS, scan the bodies. Even if you're pretty sure you're not going to stick around and explore the system, take the time to scan the bodies, get the credits for it at least. If you're going to be there, you should at least get something for it. And then you're going to look at it and realize that it's probably not interesting. Maybe you've visited 4 ice moons in a row with carbon dioxide geysers and you've just had enough. And I get that way, and that's totally normal. Move on and just keep going. Maybe there'll be something better on the next star. And that really is the thrill of the exploration. Not every star is going to have something great. That would be boring. But the opportunity to find something amazing in the next star is what should keep us going. So when to move on? When to move on is when you feel like there's nothing there and you're bored. That really comes down to personal choice as far as exploration. There are times that I can find amazing views on ice planets. Little airless 600-kilometer ice moons can be gorgeous. And then there are times that I'm absolutely bored on a stunningly purple neon world or oxygen world. Just bored because I can't find anything interesting about it other than the sky color. So sometimes there's just nothing out there, and that's okay. With an exploration heart, it's just how it is. And when you realize that, you pick up, move on to the next location, and see what else you can find. So Thank you, everybody, for joining me for part 2 of my exploration series. I'm going to continue making these to cover as many elements of exploration in Elite as I can, moving into more advanced topics pretty soon, talking about more of the specific personal things that I do and that I've learned over time that can help you find some really majestic things out there in the galaxy. So if you'd like, leave your exploration tips and tricks in the comments. I'd like to hear your exploration stories. I hope that this stuff is beneficial to you, and I look forward to continuing on, because even though it says sometimes there's nothing out there, most of the time that isn't true. And I love the idea that more people are getting out there and taking photos and exploring, charting the stars, creating new pathways, new exploration initiatives, new explorers, and who knows what's waiting for us, because there really is so much left to see. Thank you, everyone. I hope that you have a fantastic week. 07, fly safe, and I will see you out there.